The last poet reading today, Debra Nystrom, she has a brand new book, Bad River Road, which is here, I believe, right? Yes, it just came out this week. Yeah. Just out from Saraban Books, fantastic press out of Kentucky. And that book is a Virginia Literary Award winner. She has two previous collections, Torn Sky, also from Saraban, and A Quarter Turn from Sheep Meadow Press. She teaches here at the University of Virginia in the creative writing program. Like Michael and Lisa, her poems have been well anthologized and celebrated. I'm using the same example because I have this book at home and I saw she's also in the Best American Poetry in 2008. With that, I give you Debra.
Thank you, Stephen and Smartish Pace, for bringing us together. It's really a delight to read with Mike and Lisa, old friends and poets, lovers of words, all kinds of words. In here? Okay, how's that? That's not too loud. Okay, all right. This is my first time reading from this book. So I'm going to start with the first poem, which is an elegy for my mother. Window. The window of her last room in the subacute ward, building next door to death, was lovely in the evenings after visitors had come and gone, after Dad had taken Brad back to the farm and made his last stop in, and all the machines and tile faded as snow outside grew violet, then white against the dark, a steady glow beneath us. I could leave the curtains apart while she slept more heavily with the bigger night dose of morphine, and I gave up reading my Chekhov story. After the first days, she hardly opened her eyes, and the sky had clouded over, so I left it there all the time, that square of world we seemed to have known before, though we'd never been there. Now I picture snow stark, definite against the trees, then realize, no, it was just September. Even in South Dakota, an early snow wouldn't stay on the ground that long. Maybe there wasn't any snow, only the pale light, and her window altering the way light passed through it. I haven't read since I started taking this medicine that makes me so thirsty. So excuse me. Then the next poem in this book is also one with snow in it, but it's actual snow, and it's also seen from a window, the picture window of my childhood home. Blizzard. No seeing to the streets, where our dad's out in a National Guard truck, moving families with no heat to the cots and blankets and tinned food at the armory. Our house warm enough, weirdly muffled inside the wind, but out front the snow fort we kids packed and iced with matted mittens just days ago is vanished into white frenzy. Mom watching too, maybe wondering when or how he'll be back. Guard, rescue squad, fire crew, he's always getting called to a body in the river, a lightning-blazed line of haystacks. Any minute, the fire radio might pitch its squeal from the kitchen, then the raspy station voice repeat again and again the address to rush to. Now and then, if I've wandered from bed, Dad takes me in pajamas to hook up the blue flasher while he veers through stoplights or barrels beyond town to where I can look out at a life gone suddenly dark. Black-suited divers under the condemned bridge searching for Linda Fry.
Dad shaking upside down, the Reese boy with the Lincoln log piece stuck in his throat. Other nights, the radio spells out its scratchy directions, but only the rest of us wake up. Those nights, he's gone already, his own emergency. and another compulsive member of my family. Actually, the book I'm reading from, though, isn't so much about family as it is about trying to get a sense of community in also very rural area, like where Mike was from, but out west, out on the plains, and a different kind of racial tension than y'all were used to here. There are guns and gunshot in this book, but this title, Shot, is this kind of shot. So, Shot. Flare of voices and lights caught, blurred, bodies spliced, then moving as though smoke were music, music twisting in and out of hair and fingers next to you, throat scorch, burn of each word as it's spoken, mistake after mistake charred past memory, yours, your father's, any ones you ever tried to understand, and the ones they knew before you or meant to forget you with, curses gone to ash, blacked out, but you come back again and again, waiting for some turn of current, new element to sting, dissolve, take you for good. I realized after a while of writing these poems that there so many of them concerned with questions of confinement and release, different kinds of confinement and release, and so this poem is set. Well, it's called Smoke Break Behind the Treatment Center. And while our mother was dying, my brother was going through also the consequences of addiction and grief at the same time. And you can imagine at a place like this, cigarettes are really important. So this is Smoke Break Behind the Treatment Center. End of the third week, family weekend. The smokers, most of the patients, are more jittery than usual, more anxious just now than the other days to step out this door behind the cafeteria where they can look across to the stubble field, world of chopped off stalks that has ripped them up, that they've needed too much from. In 15 minutes, they'll see the ones who've come to find out if they're changing. Maybe half have family visiting. Fewer than that will leave in another week without needing to come back, to stand here in a different season and stare at the silo you set yourself by. Imagine walking through your own cloud of smoke to clean, blank sky. Part of the odd confinement of that place was that it was just surrounded by cornfields. This poem is called Lyle, Concentration, and concentration is referring to that old card game, where you try to turn up pairs. And Lyle is, the poem really comes from talking with my cousin's husband, who's Lakota, and who went to one of the Indian boarding schools that were begun in the 1880s, I think, and some of them lasted as late as the 1970s, but they were really an assimilation program that the United States government set up. Some of the schools were Catholic mission schools and some were not, but kids were taken away from home, Indian kids, and taken far from home often, across states, and they're, they weren't allowed to speak their language. Their clothes and their poultice bags and their hair was cut. There was lots of abuse in these places. So this is Lyle remembering where he learned this card game, and the poem has an epigraph that is a quotation from Sister Mary Frances Poitras, who was one of the teachers at the St. Paul's Indian School. and she was quoted as saying, "I don't think anyone was mistreated unless they asked for it." Lyle, concentration. Father Joseph showed me this game when we were alone. All 52 cards face down, and 2 at a time you tried to find the pairs. You had to match them. The trick was knowing what had turned up before, like secrets you'd glimpsed but didn't remember where. A scar on someone's shin, but from what yardstick? Bicycle given to the boy who wasn't best in school. What did he do? Bitter lye soap in your sister's mouth. When did they catch her speaking Lakota? Stain, bloody shorts, bloody paddle, boy running away, boy hanging by his feet from the bell tower, panicked girls under the bed at home and in the closet, hidden from the school boss. Then their grandmother lost the food rations. "Kill the Indian, save the man," was written above Father Joseph's desk. What man was that? Save what man? I'm sorry, Sierra, your tape is going to be full of noise. The pond. A little cool, you think, then the iron scent takes you in. You leave your feet and let it. Early summer chill easing its ripple across your chest as if this water never held a body other than yours. Silk, silty touch, thick with minerals that knew you before your body was body at all, was nothing. Pure impulse, wanting to be taken, known, sweet weight lifted alone out to the dark middle. Place you always knew, as it knew you would find yourself here, wet, untethered, eyes closed, forgetting. And I'll read just 2 more. Another kids running downhill. Howls along a pasture road, jagged shadows rippling cheatgrass, each leaning back a little against gravity, except the one in front who's hit the place where fence rails sag and start curving up toward the wide field where the last kid decides he's got to fall. He knows in the heat the rest will drop after him. Noise of mockery, breath heaving, then finally quiet, turkey buzzards above revolving on the thermals, tilting, scanning for a fox to trail, nothing more, nobody thinking this a thing to remember. Who decides about remembering? And this last is, it's called Grandma Hazel's Lace, and probably some of you know what tatting is, but it's almost a lost art. But my Grandma Hazel did tat, and it really was like watching magic. It's lace making. It's a little like crocheting, but it happens really fast with this little shuttle. I wish I had learned it, but it just moves back and forth in the hand while the thread is brought up by the other hand, and I don't know how it works. It's a kind of, I don't know, I suppose kind of an elegy to my grandmother, but also to a way of life that she came from. Grandma Hazel's Lace. Root craze, carrot frond, tumbleweed racked by wind, bloodshot eyes awake after days of dust storm or after nights of hard still gin. Every kind of nothing looped up by her hands and tatted into half-hitched lark's heads, double stitch, gap, picot, thread wrapped on one hand while the shuttle tipped back and forth in the other. Between them, a ring of knots forming, a chain, a wreath, little swath of collar fancy grown, or doily, or edging fit for the bedding of the next bride and groom, who would in turn make something out of nothing in this no man's land, house of sod, doll of washcloth, scrap quilt, poultice of weeds, butter churned from the one cow's givings and molded into rose pats, goose-down pillows, pheasant feather hats, and this magic of laces that we can pick up in our hands, that we watched take shape above her lap, such handkerchief frills to catch the eye or heart of a prince, should ever one pass through these parts. Thanks.
And please stick around. The authors all have books up here. They'd be happy to sign for you. Thanks again to our poets for reading. Thanks to the Virginia Festival of the Book. And thanks to everyone for coming.